Across the vast expanse of the American continent, a rich tapestry of indigenous civilizations has left an indelible mark on human history. From the dense rainforests of Brazil to the mountainous regions of Central America and the expansive plains of North America, numerous tribal nations developed sophisticated societies that continue to captivate researchers and historians in the 21st century. The Guarani people of Brazil established complex communities throughout the Amazon basin, developing advanced agricultural techniques that allowed them to thrive in challenging rainforest environments. Their intricate understanding of medicinal plants and sustainable farming practices remains relevant to modern botanical research. In Central America, the Aztec and Maya civilizations constructed breathtaking architectural marvels, developed precise astronomical calendars, and created sophisticated mathematical systems that rivaled those of their Old World contemporaries. The Cherokee Nation in North America demonstrated remarkable adaptability, creating a written language system and establishing a sophisticated governmental structure that influenced modern democratic principles. These indigenous nations engaged in complex diplomatic relations, traded extensively, and sometimes waged wars that shaped the continent's demographic landscape. Their technological innovations were far from primitive, from the Mayas' advanced water management systems to the Cherokees' agricultural developments. These civilizations demonstrated remarkable ingenuity in overcoming environmental challenges. Modern anthropologists continue to uncover evidence of their sophisticated engineering achievements, from precise architectural alignments to advanced metallurgical techniques. However, among this rich tapestry of indigenous cultures, one tribe emerged as a particularly formidable force, the Comanche Nation. Their rise to power represents one of the most remarkable transformations in Native American history, as documented in S.C. Gwynn's groundbreaking work, Empire of the Summer Moon. This comprehensive historical account begins with the compelling story of 9-year-old Cynthia Ann Parker, whose capture by Comanche warriors became a pivotal moment in American frontier history. The Comanches distinguished themselves through their unparalleled mastery of warfare, exceptional horsemanship, and their ability to dominate the harsh landscapes of the American plains, creating what historians consider one of the most powerful indigenous empires in North American history. These fearsome warriors, forged in the crucible of constant conflict, developed military tactics and survival strategies that would later earn them the reputation as the most formidable fighting force on the American frontier. Their story represents a unique chapter in the continent's history, marked by both remarkable achievements and profound cultural impact that continues to resonate through American history. The remarkable transformation of Cynthia Ann Parker stands as one of the most compelling narratives in American frontier history. Following her capture, she was taken under the protection of a prominent Comanche chief, marking the beginning of her extraordinary journey from captive to full-fledged member of the tribe. Unlike many other captured settlers who struggled to adapt, Cynthia Ann's integration into Comanche society was profound and complete. She mastered their language, embraced their customs, and eventually married Peta Nocona, a distinguished Comanche chief, solidifying her position within the tribal hierarchy. This union produced 3 children, but it was her son, Quanah Parker, who would emerge as a pivotal figure in Native American history. Quanah's ascension to leadership marked both the pinnacle and the twilight of traditional Comanche power. As the last great chief of the Comanches, he demonstrated exceptional leadership abilities during a period of unprecedented challenges, bridging the gap between traditional Comanche ways and the encroaching American civilization. His legacy embodies the complex dynamics of cultural adaptation and resistance that characterize this tumultuous period in American history. The influence of the Comanche Nation on American expansion patterns represents a fascinating study in territorial control and cultural interaction. Their strategic dominance effectively created a formidable barrier that significantly influenced the settlement patterns of North America. Historical records indicate that the Comanches' military prowess was so formidable that they successfully halted Spanish expansion from the south, creating what historians now recognize as a crucial buffer zone. Similarly, their presence served as an effective deterrent to French colonial ambitions pushing westward from Louisiana, fundamentally altering the trajectory of European colonization in North America. This powerful indigenous nation's influence on American settlement patterns cannot be overstated. Their control over the Central Plains created a unique phenomenon in American expansion. While coastal regions developed rapidly, the central portion of the continent remained largely uncolonized by European settlers. This strategic containment was so effective that it delayed the development of Texas and other plains states by approximately 4 decades, a testament to the Comanches' exceptional military and territorial control capabilities. What distinguished the Comanche from other plains tribes was their unique cultural emphasis. While many Native American nations centered their societies around elaborate religious ceremonies and complex social hierarchies, the Comanche developed a more pragmatic, militaristic culture. This departure from traditional Native American social structures marked them as unique among plains tribes. Rather than focusing on religious ceremonies or elaborate social customs, they developed a more streamlined, martial society that prioritized military prowess and territorial expansion. This distinctive cultural approach proved remarkably effective in maintaining their dominance over vast territories. The Comanches' ability to project power across enormous distances, coupled with their reputation for martial excellence, created a sphere of influence that effectively shaped the patterns of American expansion for nearly half a century. Their story, as explored through the lens of Cynthia Ann Parker and her son Quanah's experiences, provides crucial insights into how a single indigenous nation could so profoundly influence the development of the American frontier. In stark contrast to other major indigenous civilizations of the Americas, the Comanches developed a uniquely martial culture that set them apart from their contemporaries. The Mayan and Aztec civilizations, renowned for their intellectual and architectural achievements, established sophisticated centers of learning where they studied complex disciplines, including engineering, celestial observation, agricultural science, and animal domestication. Their architectural legacy stands as testament to their technological sophistication, with massive temple complexes dotting the landscapes of Central and South America. When Spanish conquistadors first encountered these civilizations, they documented highly structured societies with intricate religious practices, including the controversial ritual of human sacrifice, which involved both children and adults as offerings to their deities. The Comanche culture, however, followed a radically different path of development. Rather than pursuing astronomical studies or architectural achievements, they forged a society singularly focused on martial excellence. This sharp divergence from the contemplative and mathematically oriented cultures of other indigenous peoples reflects their unique adaptation to the challenges of their environment. Where other tribes invested time in basket weaving and elaborate ceremonial practices, the Comanches channeled their cultural energy almost exclusively toward warfare and survival skills. Modern anthropologists have drawn compelling parallels between Comanche society and that of ancient Sparta, noting striking similarities in their martial focus and warrior-centric social structure. Like the Spartans, the Comanches implemented a rigorous system of warrior training that began in early childhood. Young boys were initiated into the arts of warfare through a comprehensive education in combat skills, with particular emphasis on mastery of the lance and bow. This military training was seamlessly integrated with practical survival skills, most notably the hunting of buffalo, which served as both sustenance and combat practice. The transformation of Comanche youth into warriors was remarkably swift and effective. By their teenage years, these young men had already developed into formidable fighters, equally skilled in hunting and warfare. This intensive martial training produced warriors renowned across the plains for their exceptional combat abilities. The Comanche warrior culture was characterized not by diplomatic finesse or patience in negotiations, but by an unwavering commitment to military dominance and conquest. Their reputation for ruthlessness in battle and their single-minded dedication to warfare established them as one of the most feared and respected forces in North America, creating a military legacy that would influence the development of the American frontier for generations to come. The introduction of horses to the American plains during the Pueblo Revolt of 1680 marked a transformative moment in Comanche history, fundamentally altering their way of life and military capabilities. Historical records suggest that the Comanches' relationship with horses may have begun even earlier, though the Pueblo Revolt serves as a documented milestone in their equestrian development. The integration of horses into Comanche society was so profound that it influenced major tribal decisions, including their historic separation from the Shoshone people. Anthropological evidence indicates that rather than following traditional migration patterns in pursuit of buffalo herds, the Comanches made the strategic decision to move southward, primarily motivated by the opportunity to acquire more horses. This early adoption of horsemanship established the Comanches as pioneers in mounted warfare on the Great Plains. Historical records confirm their status as the longest documented horse-mounted culture in the region, predating other notable equestrian tribes such as the Cheyenne. Their mastery of mounted warfare proved revolutionary, transforming them from a relatively modest tribal group into one of the most formidable military powers in North America. Their strategic migration carried them into the southern Great Plains, where they established control over a vast territory stretching from the Arkansas River southward into central Texas. Spanish colonial records from 1706 provide the first documented evidence of their presence in this region, noting alarming reports reaching Santa Fe about impending attacks by the Utes and Comanches. The Comanche expansion across the southern plains precipitated significant territorial conflicts, most notably with the Apache people. This competition for territory evolved into one of the most significant intertribal conflicts in North American history. The intensity and scale of these confrontations reached such proportions that by the late 18th century, they had become legendary among both Native Americans and European settlers. A particularly significant account comes from Texas Governor Domingo Cabello y Robles, who in 1874 documented a crucial battle that had occurred approximately 60 years earlier, around 1724. According to his records, this epic 9-day confrontation took place at La Gran Sierra del Fierro, the Great Mountain of Iron, in the northwestern region of Texas, resulting in the decisive defeat of the Apaches and their subsequent expulsion from the southern plains. This territorial conquest represented more than just a military victory. It demonstrated the Comanches' exceptional ability to leverage their superior horsemanship and tactical innovations in mounted warfare to dominate vast territories. Their success in displacing the Apaches, who were themselves renowned warriors, established the Comanches as the predominant military force in the region, fundamentally altering the balance of power across the southern plains for generations to come. The integration of horses into Comanche society thus represents not just a cultural adaptation, but a strategic revolution that enabled them to establish one of the most powerful indigenous empires in North American history. While the historical record lacks additional documentation of the 9-day battle at La Gran Sierra del Fierro, the Comanches' military prowess is extensively documented through other sources. Their innovative adaptation of traditional weapons for mounted combat revolutionized warfare on the American plains. They developed sophisticated techniques for wielding bows, lances, and other conventional weapons while on horseback, creating a highly effective form of mobile warfare that would define their military operations for generations. This martial expertise became so deeply embedded in Comanche culture that warfare evolved beyond mere survival or territorial defense. It became a fundamental aspect of their societal structure and cultural identity. One of the most striking manifestations of Comanche military strategy was their sophisticated use of lunar cycles in planning their raids into Mexican territory. The phenomenon known as the Comanche Moon became deeply ingrained in frontier folklore and Mexican cultural memory. These raids, strategically timed to coincide with the full moon, allowed the Comanche warriors to utilize natural illumination for nighttime operations, maximizing their tactical advantage while maintaining their ability to navigate effectively across vast distances. During the 1840s, these raids reached their apex in both frequency and geographic scope, with Comanche war parties penetrating hundreds of miles into Mexican territory, causing widespread devastation throughout the northern regions of the country. The psychological impact of the Comanche Moon phenomenon cannot be overstated. During these periods, frontier settlements transformed into fortresses of fear. The mere sight of the full moon rising over the plains would trigger a cascade of defensive preparations. Doors were barricaded, children were hidden away, and entire communities held their collective breath in anticipation of possible raids. The Comanche warriors' reputation for ruthlessness during these operations was so profound that the very phrase Comanche Moon became synonymous with terror in frontier settlements. Their raids were not merely acts of warfare, but calculated operations aimed at acquiring specific resources: horses to maintain their cavalry advantage, weapons to enhance their military capabilities, and captives for both ransom and tribal integration. Paradoxically, the ultimate decline of Comanche power came not primarily from external military defeat, but from their own actions, intertwined with changing economic conditions and strategic manipulation by American authorities. The arrival of American settlers brought with it an unprecedented demand for buffalo hides, creating a new economic opportunity that the Comanches, with their superior hunting skills, were uniquely positioned to exploit. Their intimate knowledge of buffalo behavior patterns, particularly the animal's peculiar tendency to remain stationary, even in the face of immediate danger to their herd members, proved catastrophic when combined with commercial hunting incentives. This understanding of buffalo behavior patterns, coupled with their hunting expertise, enabled the Comanches to participate in one of the most massive wildlife extinctions in North American history. The scale of the buffalo harvest was staggering. An estimated 31 million animals were killed during this period, fundamentally altering the ecological balance of the Great Plains. However, what the Comanches failed to recognize was the strategic implications of this systematic destruction of their primary resource base. The American government's response to this situation demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of environmental warfare. Rather than confronting the Comanches directly, authorities recognized that the destruction of the buffalo population would inevitably lead to the collapse of Comanche power. By actively encouraging and facilitating the buffalo hide trade, the government effectively orchestrated the dismantling of the ecological foundation upon which Comanche society depended. This strategy proved remarkably effective. As the buffalo populations dwindled, so too did the Comanches' ability to maintain their traditional way of life, ultimately leading to the end of their dominance over the southern plains. The symbiotic relationship between buffalo and Comanche society created a vulnerability that the U.S. government strategically exploited. By establishing a lucrative market for buffalo hides, the government effectively incentivized the destruction of the very resource that sustained Comanche independence. This economic mechanism proved to be a sophisticated form of indirect warfare, as the Comanches themselves participated in the systematic elimination of their primary source of sustenance, unknowingly contributing to the erosion of their traditional way of life. In contemporary America, the Comanche Nation continues to maintain a significant presence, primarily centered on reservations across the U.S. plains. While their days of mounted warfare and full moon raids have long since passed into history, the tribe has demonstrated remarkable resilience in preserving their cultural heritage. Modern Comanche communities actively maintain many of their ancestral traditions and religious practices, adapting them to contemporary life, while ensuring the preservation of their unique cultural identity. This ongoing effort to maintain their traditional practices while adapting to modern society represents a crucial chapter in their continuing story of survival and cultural persistence. The Comanche legacy represents one of the most fascinating and significant chapters in American history, illustrating the complex dynamics of cultural adaptation, military innovation, and environmental interdependence. Their transformation from a relatively modest tribal group into one of the most powerful military forces on the continent, followed by their eventual adaptation to reservation life, provides crucial insights into the broader patterns of Native American history and the evolution of the American frontier. This remarkable journey from dominant military power to modern tribal nation continues to captivate historians and demonstrate the resilience of indigenous cultures in the face of profound change. The Comanche story remains relevant today, offering valuable lessons about cultural adaptation, environmental relationships, and the complex interplay between traditional practices and modern survival. Their ongoing efforts to maintain their cultural identity while adapting to contemporary society exemplifies the challenging balance between preservation and adaptation that many indigenous peoples navigate in the modern world. To unlock more secrets of the remarkable Comanche Nation and other fascinating historical tales, subscribe now. Your next historical adventure awaits in our upcoming episodes. Let us know in the comments which hidden chapters of history you'd like us to unveil next.